I'm going to give you quick tips and tricks for every legend in Season 19. Timestamps below, but for now, let's get right into it. Starting things off with the Assault class, we have my main, Bangalore. And what I want you to focus on is using a smoke launcher as much as possible, while aiming to give both yourself and your team the advantage. Shooting it directly at enemies can only deal a bit of damage, but also blind them, whereas shooting at your feet can often hinder your team more than the enemy. Use them a lot, but think tactically. Moving on to Fuse. There's a trick where you can shoot his ultimate at a high ceiling or an evac tower. This will increase the radius and allow you to track more people in a much larger location. Another quick tip for him though is that while it's pretty well known that his tactical destroys doors, did you also know that it destroys caustic traps? So next up we have Ashe, who is definitely the lower tier right now, but she can still be useful. So don't forget to scan all the enemy loot boxes to gain a team's location. You use once per enemy, so remember to get all of them. This can be used to tactically track enemies' locations, providing you a better map awareness. Following Ashe is Mad Maggie. Mad Maggie runs the same speed with a shotgun out as she would if her gun were holstered. This means you get a 1.15 times movement speed boost, so remember to keep your shotgun out while playing her. Did you also know though that her ult can completely destroy Gibby's dome shield? This could be pivotal in catching a team that's trying to heal or revive inside his bubble. Going on to Ballistic, his tactical is one-handed and it can be used while you're firing your gun, allowing you to deal an extra 20 damage in a very short amount of time. On top of this, it would also apply Overheat, which can deal an extra 30 damage. This can really throw off your opponents and help you win more gunfights. Alright, so kicking it off for the skirmishers, we have Pathfinder. What I want you to keep in mind is that with him, care packages give you a zipline back, and after a recent update, you can now scan them even after teammates have, so do that as much as you can. As well as this, you can also zipline super jump on his ult, so learn that and find ways to utilize it mid-fight. Moving on to Wraith, her ultimate will give you more movement speed the longer you use it, making you the fastest legend in the game at full speed. That includes Octane. Also, your tactical costs instantly when in your ultimate, a lot of the time making it more effective to pop your ultimate before using your tactical. Speaking of the devil, for Octane, my main tip would be to learn movement. You should at least know how to tap strafe, as this pairs incredibly well with the jump pad, but also other movement techs such as super gliding are also great on this character. I have some shorts on my channel that give you some movement tips to try out, with more to come, so keep an eye out. Another quick tip though would be to use this tactical just before finishing off a Phoenix or a medkit, as the damage taken will be instantly healed. After his rework, Revenant can be used very effectively to gain an advantageous position on your enemies. You'll want to constantly use his passive and tactical to get that high ground, and make it as hard as possible for your opponents to keep track of you. A tip for his tactical would be that if you look down, it will give you a big boost and allow you to follow up with bunny hops. This gives you the ability to tap strafe and makes you harder to track. Horizon's passive can be used to carry her velocity in some crazy ways. For example, standing here on a gravity cannon will allow you to slide off the other side, keeping your velocity and creating for some insane movement feats. To add to this, her passive not only prevents fall penalty, but also gives you better air control, opening up a lot of movement potential. Currently, Valkyrie isn't really that great, due to the introduction of the evac tower making her ultimate less important. I do think though that if played properly, she has the potential to be a very hard character to fight against. Using her rocket passive, she can effectively outmaneuver enemies and get to those high up positions. Use this to your advantage. Okay, so going on to the recon class, we have Bloodhound first up. You should pay attention to the clues left by your enemies, and use your abilities to stay aware of your surroundings by scanning for enemies and also any traps they might have left. And for the sake of your team, ping them. This will provide them with important information and map awareness. And don't forget the white crows, they'll point you to the nearest team, giving you the option to hunt them down or avoid them. Crypto's drone actually changed a little bit recently, allowing you to throw it out to an area. This means you can use it more on the fly. Remember this and try to place it in thought out locations, like possible routes where enemies are likely to try and flank you. Also, the drone can pick up teammates' banners and revive them, which is a massive benefit as you don't have to put yourself in harm's way. Season 19 is not doing Seer very well. He's got the lowest pick rate, although it can be useful. The slow from his tactical is no joke, lasting 2.5 seconds, so try and use this to really hinder your opponents mid-fight, or while you're getting the jump on them. Now Vantage's passive can be used to give intel on what armor the enemies have from a long distance. Do this before heading into fights so that you and your team know a bit more about what you're running into. In addition to this, it can also mark Mirage's decoys, meaning you're less likely to get bamboozled as Vantage. Well, hopefully. Alright, so moving on to support, we have Gibraltar. Now he is an absolute tank and don't forget it. You have his dome shield, his gun shield, and remember you also have that fortified buff which reduces incoming damage by 15%. and it also prevents slows. This can be huge. Try to master the art of bubble fighting, with shotguns being a pretty good pick for this. Lifeline has gone through a lot of changes, but what you want to keep in mind with her is that she can now revive both teammates at once, while remaining in combat herself. As well as this though, her care package now comes down within seconds, so call it in and use it as cover to gain the advantage on your enemies. Mirage's passive in Season 19 allows him to revive while making you both invisible. However, it also keeps you invisible for a short period of time after the revival. By giving him the gold knockdown shield, he becomes an extremely viable support legend, and a little extra one is that his decoys can set off gravity cannons, which gives you yet another way to bamboozle your enemies. Okay, moving on to Loba. For her ultimate, Loba and only Loba can take one item from the vault, although doing this will cause the ultimate to break, so do it after your team have used it. As for her tactical, upon teleporting, she used to get a massive slow penalty, but that has since changed, so if you're running while you throw it, you can carry this momentum after teleporting, even allowing you to slide and tap strafe. Now Newcastle is very strong at the moment. Remember that like Gibby and Caustic, he gets the fortified buff. This gives him damage reduction and no slow penalty when taking shots. This makes movement mid-fight a lot smoother, so utilize this as much as you can. On top of this though, you can super glide off his ultimate, as well as move around his tactical shield while reviving, giving you protection from even more angles. Conduit is the newest legend and has been very well received so far. People are still figuring out her playstyle, but I'd suggest playing as your backline. It may be your playstyle just to hold W and wipe the full team, but with Conduit, the ability to heal from a distance is huge. Fighting against a team with Conduit that can effectively manage her team's shield is so frustrating, so learn to take a step back as her. Alright, so moving on to controllers, we have Caustic, and his traps are very versatile. Make sure to use them as much as you can, like to block off doors and also as a form of mobile cover. As well as this though, his ultimate is great at zoning, and when combined with his tactical, can make for an extremely hectic battlefield. Next up is Wattson, and a good Wattson can be annoying to fight against, trust me. By pre-placing a node outside of a door, all you need to do is wait for the enemy to approach, then place another node behind you to link it up, stunning them before they even get a chance to react. And don't forget, it'll shatter the door, so be ready to beam them right away. Also, don't forget to carry around ult accelerants, as she can store 2 per slot, and they fully restore her ultimate. Rampart is another legend that can utilize movement by placing down an amped cover, as this will give you a wall to super glide off of. On top of this though, her ultimate Sheila can be placed on the back of tridents, making for some really funny moments that can be frustrating to fight against. Finishing off the list, we have Catalyst, and as of Season 19, Catalyst can now place only 2 traps, but keep in mind that she can also pick them up to regain a charge. On top of this though, she also won't take damage from walking over both her spikes and the enemy ones as well, allowing you to use them and your own to become an elusive target. However, they made it so that you can't use it as a form of cover from bullets anymore, but still, the visual clutter makes it harder for the enemies to hit you anyway. And with that, I've just given you tips for every legend currently available in Season 19 of Apex. If there's any tips and tricks you want to share, go ahead and comment below. Otherwise though, I hope you enjoyed and learned a little bit from this video. Until next time, thanks for watching.